Shalom, shalom, shalom. Greetings. Once again, it's your brother, Ezra ben Khazar here. And don't forget the Hebrew part. All right. So for everyone who checked out the last video, you'll see that we went deep into the Khazar burials. And we seen some R1A Z280 Khazars. And we also seen that they were a part of something called the Saltovo-Mayaki culture. So in this video, we decided to go into the Saltovo-Mayaki culture and explain what exactly is that. Saltovo-Mayaki is the name given by archaeologists to the early medieval culture of the Pontic steppe region, roughly between the Don and the Dnieper Rivers, flourishing roughly between the years of 700 and 950 AD. So basically, the Saltovo-Mayaki culture was in the area of the Khazar Empire during the time of the Khazar Empire. It's almost like a different name for the Khazar Empire. And this is in the general Wikipedia page. We're going to start just looking here, but I got some sources we're going to go into later. Saltovo-Mayaki influence was strong in the area of the Donets culture to the northwest of the main Saltovo-Mayaki territory. There is no consensus as to what ethnicity to assign to this culture, if any at all, because the Saltovo-Mayaki culture was a mixture of ethnicities. We'll get into that soon. But first, let's look at this subculture, the Donets culture. It's an archaeological culture of the Middle Ages in the 8th to 9th centuries, located between the Dnieper and the Don Rivers. In the west, the territory of the Donets monuments reaches the right bank of the Dnieper in the cave area. Some scholars argue that the Donets culture was formed as a result of the advancement of the Slavic tribes belonging to the Prague culture, carriers of antiquities of the Saltovo type, from the west to the left bank of the Dnieper. So they're saying that this is a part of the Slavic migration. And we see the tribe here is the Khazarians, one of the East Slavic tribes that was under the Khazars. Let's continue. Some scholars associate Donets culture with the Khazar influence in the 8th to the first third of the 9th centuries. We see here belt decorations that are a part of the Saltovo-Mayaki culture but are found in this area, showing that this is the Slavic outskirts of the Khazar Empire. Donets populations built unfortified settlements and lived in semi-dugout type of houses, equipped with mud-baked kilns. The dead were cremated and the ashes were placed in an urn. The population grew millet, wheat, rye, and peas. They used plows to till the land. Researchers have noted the presence of a significant amount of artifacts of the Saltovo-Mayaki culture associated with the Khazar khaganate. The main marker of Donets culture is the wheel-made black glazed ceramics with a high straight upper rim. A particular feature of the Donets culture is the amount of Islamic silver, which is found, typically as coin hoards. The sites also often produce large amounts of silver jewelry, more than in other Slavic lands. The Donets culture has been related to the Slavic tributaries of the Khazar khaganate, described in the ancient Rusin Chronicle as the Polyan, the Severa, the Vayechi, and the Radimichi. Excuse me, y'all. In the first third of the 9th century, many Donets settlements, such as these places, suffered a period of destruction. Signs of fires abound. The most vivid period of destruction was noted at Baitesiya site, and at this place. These events can be dated quite accurately by the finds of Arabic dirham silver coins from the lower Saltovo-Mayaki site. Archaeologist A.V. Komar put forward a hypothesis that the destruction may have been connected with the invasion of the early Rus people from the left bank of the Dnieper. This was based on the dating of arrowheads and other special type of axe found at Mayatskoye settlement, but this was disputed by other scholars. So the Khazar influenced Slavic culture of the Eastern Slavs started to dwindle by the time of the Rus, the Kievan Rus. Now back to the Saltovo-Mayaki culture. The culture was a melting pot of Onogur, Khazar, later on Pecheneg, Magyar, Alan, and Slavic influences. A genetic study by Nature in May 2018 examined 3 males of the Saltovo-Mayaki culture buried in Belgorod Oblast, Russia, between 700 AD and 900 AD. The sample of Y DNA extracted belonged to haplogroup R1. The 3 samples of MT DNA extracted belonged to the haplogroups I, J1B4, and U7A4. So let's go to Kevin Allen Brooks' The Jews of Khazaria. Let's read about the Mayaki culture. The Mayaki, the Gordichish, Heelford, located near the Upper Don, was especially important during the second half of the 9th century and the beginning of the 10th century. Its fortress was made from white stones. Its accompanying settlement had pottery workshops and a cemetery. Alans were among its inhabitants. Now this is important because in our last video, we seen that the R1A Z280 Khazars had Alan or Armenian Middle Bronze Age, I believe it was, admixture. So this is very interesting to see. And we also notice here the white stones, which as we make more videos talking about the architecture of the Khazar culture, we'll see is very important style used in the Khazar culture, such as Sarkel and the White Fortress. Colors in Turkic culture usually meant directions and status. And now we'll read about Upper Saltov. Upper Saltov was an important settlement located along the east bank of the Upper Donets and the Valshank-Kogo area in eastern Ukraine, approximately 25 miles east of modern-day Kharkiv. It was the site of a fortress constructed from white limestone. Archaeologists also discovered a cemetery in Upper Saltov. Archaeologists discoveries indicated that Alan, Magyar, and Swedish settlements existed there from the 6th through the 9th centuries. Now, this is very fascinating because we've seen Vikings with R1A Z280. Could they possibly be related to these Swedish settlements living with Alans and living with Magyars in the Khazar culture? Its residents shared elements of culture with people living in nearby regions. The culture flourished between circa 700 and circa 950 in numerous settlements in the Khazar Empire, near and along the Don and Donets River, as well as in other parts of the Khazar kingdom. The general term for this culture, Saltovo-Mayaki, is named after both Upper Saltov and Mayaki, and it was the dominant culture of the peoples of Khazaria. Upper Saltov's fortress eventually succumbed to fire and destruction. And we've spoken on how that happened. We see now why it got its name, Saltovo-Mayaki culture. We see some of the traits of it, the people groups a part of it. I want to take you now to a website that we've been going on to just see extra information. It's the Indo-European.eu blog, where people who are into genetics discuss different genetic papers. But in this one, they're talking about the Saltovo-Mayaki culture. So I'm going to read some of this so we can get some more information. The title of this is Proto-Hungarian Homeland, East and West of the Urals, ? And down here in the section 2.3, Middle Volga Late Stage, the Khazar period, it talks about the multi-ethnic, probably mainly Turkic-speaking Saltovo-Mayaki culture, which reaches up to the Ural regions. The second period, AD 750 to 850, was influenced by the defeat of the Khazar Khaganate by Arab forces in AD 737. Now, we haven't talked about the Khazar-Arab wars yet, but when we get to that period, we'll talk about how one of the battles that was lost, the original capital of Khazaria, was destroyed, and a lot of the Khazars had to migrate north. In AD 740-750, the area of the Saltovo-Mayaki culture became the source of a new wave of migration to the Middle Volga region. The number of occupant sites increased, and the cultural traits of the sedentary population of the region became more diverse in the 8th century. The newcomers moved from the Don Basin, Saltovo-Mayaki culture, to the west of the Sura River, likely inhabited by the Mordvins, in the Middle Kama region, the Nevelino culture. Let's continue and read down a little. The third period of migrations to the Middle Volga from AD 850 to 910 was associated with the decision of the Khazarian rulers to convert to Judaism. As a result, the 9th century was a period of mixing of different cultural groups in the Middle Volga region. The most numerous were migrants with Saltovo cultural traditions, probably mainly of Turkic language, and Uralic-speaking newcomers from the Middle Kama. Archaeological sites include burial grounds and settlements along the Volga, and also in the Trans-Volga region, around the future city of Bilyan. Both groups were comparatively numerous. For example, the Tankiva burial ground contained more than 5,000 graves. The territories to the north of Kama remained unpopulated. The total number of sites increased. At least some were used as year-round settlements, and some were fortified. And here are maps of the distribution of the archaeological sites. And last, I want to talk about this paper here that you can read about. Middle-aged horses from the western borders of Khazar Khaganate, the Saltovo-Mayaki culture of eastern Ukraine. So this paper is talking about the horses that are found in the Khazar Khaganate, and we know how important horses were to the Khazars, and not only the Khazars, but all the people that make up the Khazars, the Scythians, the Sarmatians, the Proto-Indo-Europeans, and the Yamnaya culture. So let's read the abstracts. I'm not going to read the whole paper, but please check it out. The article describes the early Middle-Age horse skeletal remains yielded by the Saltovo-Mayaki archaeological sites from eastern Ukraine. According to the obtained results, the Saltovo-Mayaki domestic breed represents an improved riding horse with the medium height at the withers, thin and semi-thin metacarpals, elongated phalanxes, moderately short muzzle, relatively large cheek teeth, and long protocone and upper cheek teeth. A large number of juveniles and few seniles in the studied sample suggests that Saltovo-Mayaki culture barriers practice hippophagy. This conclusion is supported by the recording cutting tool marks on horse bones. And that last word there actually means, if I'm not mistaken, eating horse meat. But for those who studied Scythians and horse culture, horse riding in the steppes, that was common, and it's probably if a lot of Khazars and other people who didn't convert to Judaism probably continue eating horses, using their milk as well. But it's saying that the conclusion is supported by the cutting tools that they're saying in the marks on the bones. So that's cool to see that the Khazars had an improved riding horse, that they had a a smarter breed. That's a more improved breed, I should say. Very fascinating. So that's just a quick look into the Saltovo-Mayaki culture, the culture of the Khazarian khaganate. Like, comment, and subscribe, and please stay tuned for more. Thanks for checking out the videos, you guys. And we're going to keep on looking into the Khazarian khaganate. There's so much more to learn, and we're going to keep it coming as long as the good Adonai allows us to. Shalom, grace, and peace. Till next time.